We've been in Norway for 2 weeks, and already it feels like home. The mountains, fresh air, rivers, lakes, and wilderness in every direction is exactly what I needed, and I honestly never want to leave. We've been on the road, living from our camper, since we left Denmark to head north. Every few days we're in a new location, and we just arrived in Voss, a landscape of rolling hills and gorgeous waterfalls. We park our camper beside a river, and the sound of the water rushing by is so soothing. It drowns out the sound of the traffic driving by, which is just one of the realities of camping and rest stops along the road. Even though we had originally wanted to park our camper in parks or down remote roadways, we quickly realized that because we're working out here, it's much more realistic to take advantage of the large network of rest stops in Norway. They're virtually everywhere, and even though it means we're closer to the sounds of cars and other people, the convenience is absolutely worth it. It means we can stop for the night and be off on a new adventure the very next day, soaking in as much of the landscape as possible. We head outside for hikes as often as we can, and on one short hike up a side road, we stumble upon a huge and beautiful waterfall with a view of the valley surrounding us. It's unexpected stops like this that make me excited about driving with no plan, because we never know what we're going to find, and where we end up is always more stunning than we could have imagined. We continue hiking along the river and find one of the many patches of wild blueberries. They're everywhere out here, and it's so nice to be able to forage food again, something that I haven't really done since I moved away from Canada.
Child, I know you're hurt and you can't let go. It's not your fault and you don't deserve all the bad and the hurt. I know you tried so hard. I know you've done your part. It's not fair. You did your time. How much longer will you suffer in this life? But don't give up. Just hold on tight. It'll be alright.
We continue north from Voss, and now that our original schedule to have longer rest stops in specific areas is completely out the window, we drive with no real plan and end up in a beautiful valley called Fjærland. It's the weekend, so we leave our computer work behind and head out on our first long hike of the trip. It's an 8-kilometer loop that takes us up through steep, rocky terrain. There's towering mountains in every direction, and it's definitely one of the highlights of the trip for me. It takes us 5 hours to hike up to the glacier and back down into the valley, where we head home to spend the night in the camper. Moisture is a constant battle in the camper. With the cold temperatures outside and 2 of us and our pup living and working inside, there is condensation everywhere. Each morning when we wake up, we go on moisture patrol and have to wipe down all of the walls, windows, and inside our cupboards until our diesel heater begins to heat the camper up and dry the air out. We're traveling in Norway in the rainiest month of the year, so we definitely expected to have some moisture buildup, but it has exceeded my expectation. The rainy days are nice though, because I get to cozy up in the camper with a hot tea and a good book while we listen to the rain on the roof. We pack up the camper, leave Fjærland, and wind through narrow mountain roads on our way to Oldedalen National Park. Pepsi loves the long drives and the new smells on the road. It took him a little bit to become accustomed to living in new places all the time, but after a few days, he started to get more excited with each new stop along the way. We try to get creative with our meals, at least as much as we can with only a stovetop pot or pan to cook with. And since it's rainy outside, I thought it would be nice to try some cozy baking on the stovetop. We mash up some ripe bananas and mix them with cinnamon, vanilla powder, coconut sugar, and coconut oil that never softens, and add it all to the pot. Then we add gluten-free flour, stir it all together, put the lid on, and 20 minutes later it's done cooking. It's more dense than normal banana bread, but topped with a little bit of maple syrup and served with a hot tea, it is the perfect afternoon snack. With moving around so frequently, we decide to settle in one location for a little bit longer and choose the most beautiful spot yet to park and spend a week immersing ourselves in the area around Oldedalen. The lake is the most vivid color of blue I've ever seen, and each morning waking up on the shoreline looks completely different. Some mornings, like today, are perfectly clear, showing the glacier and the gorgeous blue waters, and others are so foggy that we can't see anything beyond the camper. But even then, the days warm up and the mist fades away to reveal the mountains. We've been in Norway for 2 weeks now, and one of the benefits that we've noticed that we had been hoping for prior to coming on our trip is that there is no one else around. We are literally the only people where we are on this gorgeous glacier lake right now, and my introverted heart absolutely loves that. We weren't sure how busy Norway in general was going to be just because of tourism and the pandemic, but we have been so pleasantly surprised to see that we are one of the very few campers on the road right now in the autumn. And to a certain extent, I can understand why people don't go out in their campers at this time of year. It doesn't come without its struggles, but it is so absolutely stunning with the trees that are changing colors and the mist on the mountains. And I'm really happy that we chose to come at this time of year. People always hate on the rain, but it is made for such gorgeous shots and beautiful landscapes while we're here. And I am falling more in love with Norway every single day. I have absolutely no doubt, not that I really doubted before, but now my decision is solidified. We are definitely getting a cabin here and are gonna spend as much time as possible in this gorgeous country. We spend our last few days on Old Vatnet working in the mornings and exploring in our time off. And after that, we feel refreshed and ready to hit the road again. So we leave behind the towering mountains near the coast and drive a few hours into the Alpine. It's a different environment here, more rolling hills, but no less beautiful. We park beside another glacier lake, and as soon as I wake up the next morning, I walk down to the beach to begin my ritual of washing off in the lake. There's something about bathing in the ice-cold water that is so refreshing in the morning. Then I begin our routine of tidying up and cleaning, a seemingly never-ending job while living in a camper during the rainy, muddy season with 2 of us and a dog. The camper can easily become messy and disorganized, and since I thrive in clean, organized spaces, I make sure to spend the time each day tidying up. It makes all the difference in such a small space, and it takes it from what can often be a chaotic living environment to cozy and inviting. And even with the mess that we sometimes have in the camper, I'm really enjoying living a more simple life on the road. I love being nomadic, and this trip has given me the constant change and new landscapes that I crave. It's so exciting to be able to live in this kind of beauty, surrounded by nature and living a lifestyle more focused on the outdoors and exploration. It's been such a freeing experience to leave behind our home and our responsibilities and set out with no goal other than to simply enjoy our life out here. I've lived in campers several times in the past, but this has by far been my favorite experience. One thing I have found challenging out here is eating the foods that help me feel my best. Whole plant foods like fruits, vegetables, nuts, seeds, grains, and beans. It's not always easy to cook whole foods with little space, no cold food storage, virtually no kitchen gadgets, and not really knowing when we'll be at a grocery store next or what foods they'll have when we get there. But we do our best, having packaged smoothies and fresh fruits and vegetables when possible, and enjoying some more decadent foods like vegan burgers when we need the convenience options. Tonight is one of those nights, so we cook up some onions until they caramelize, put some burgers on the pan, and have a simple dinner that may not be the healthiest, but it's delicious and sometimes just what we need after a long day.
And when you say, oh, I've read this, you have no idea how to determine the accuracy of the...
We sit down at our combination eating, working, and relaxing space, put on an episode of Peaky Blinders, fill up our water bottles from our collapsible water containers, and enjoy a cozy night by the lake. We spend the next few days searching for and looking at cabins, spend a day with a friend in Trondheim, and then it's time to head south. We thought we'd make it home before the snow hits, and boy, were we ever wrong. After a bit of a harrowing experience in a snowstorm during the night, and with the help from a local, we make our way to a rest stop in the Alpine while a snowstorm rages on throughout the night. It's all worth it the next morning, though, when we wake up to a winter wonderland outside. The snow is sparkling, and it looks so beautiful in the rugged alpine landscape. Lucas is definitely less impressed with the snow than I am, being the designated driver of the trip, but nonetheless, it's an adventure that we'll be able to laugh about later. Then it's time to race south to the warmer weather and spend one last night in Norway before crossing the border into Sweden and going back home. And on our last night, we get to see our first sunset since arriving in Norway a month earlier. First things first, we put up our internet antenna that makes us look like a CIA campout, one of the first things we do when we arrive at a new campsite. Then we set the drone up and catch the last magical moments as the sun sets over the rolling hills in the south of the country, the perfect end to our adventure on the road in Norway. Thanks so much for watching our adventures in Norway. We've loved sharing our life on the road, and if you'd like to see a tour of our camper that we've spent the past month in, feel free to comment below, and we'll see you in the next video.